I've never been a fan of the 3-episode rule. The idea that every anime should be given at least 3 episodes before one decides whether or not to drop the series. Because to me, nearly every anime that I've wanted to continue watching, I enjoyed from the very beginning. Even shows that moved at a relaxed pace or were slow to reveal their story structure managed to invest my attention due to any combinations of good writing, directing, or any other element of an anime's construction. Talentless Nana, a series which just finished airing this fall season, is one of the few anime I've seen that I didn't particularly care for at first, but grew to enjoy and become engrossed in as the show progressed. Talentless Nana begins with a premise I think many watching will be familiar with. A green-haired boy at a school full of kids with superpowers is picked on and ostracized for his lack of powers. However, after a chance encounter with someone who encourages him to awaken his inner abilities, he becomes set on a path to lead his fellow classmates against unimaginable difficulties. Talentless Nana's first episode felt uninspired to me. Not only is the plot extremely similar to My Hero Academia, but even the designs of certain characters looked like they were derived from specific characters from that series. The plot is as follows. Our lead character Nanao attends a special island-based school which exists to train the talented, the superhumans of this world, as they train to face off against the enemies of humanity, beast-like creatures which come in a variety of forms and who attack humans indiscriminately. Years prior, the enemies of humanity went to war with humans, but it was the talented who managed to keep them at bay. Nanao, for some strange reason, is the only person at the school who appears to have no powers whatsoever, leading him to be shunned by his fellow classmates. One day, 2 new students transfer to the school. Nana, a kind, albeit spacey girl who can read minds, and Kyouya, a stoic, quiet boy who refuses to reveal his particular power. Nanao and Nana quickly become close, as Nana is enthralled by the pure, kindly state of the contents of Nanao's mind. Nana begins encouraging the boy to develop more of a presence in the class and take charge of it, believing that he could lead his classmates to accomplish great things. Everything I've said so far describes most of the first episode of the series, and to be honest, I was only barely interested. The show seemed as though it were going through the motions, telling this story in the most generic way possible. The powers displayed weren't even really that impressive or unique compared to most other superhero media, nor was there anything which was animated particularly well. In fact, the whole show just looked okay. Not horrible, but there was nothing noteworthy enough in its presentation to elevate the mediocre content of its plot. That was, until the end of episode 1. In order to appropriately discuss Talentless Nana, and why I enjoy it, I'll need to get into spoilers. This is your one and only warning. If you do not wish to be spoiled, know that I enjoy and recommend Talentless Nana mostly for its creativity, fun writing, and excellent pacing. By the end of episode 1, Nanao has demonstrated his ability, the power to nullify other powers, and at the same time he saves several classmates from a potentially fatal incident. His actions were partially because of Nana's encouragement. However, as the two meet by a cliffside to discuss this incident privately, Nana pushes Nanao off of the cliff to his assumed death. And so the true plot of the series begins. Nana's persona of a ditzy, friendly mind reader is just an act. In reality, Nana has no powers to speak of. Just an extremely good ability to read people and to use deductive reasoning to make keen observations about those around her. Her real goal in being transferred to this school for superhumans is to kill all of her fellow classmates. You see, the enemies of humanity don't exist in the first place. They are a fabrication created by the world's governments. In reality, the massive and brutally violent war that took place was between humans and the talented, who decided to use their powers to try and take control of the planet. Now, in order to eliminate talented without them realizing, and to keep them from potentially starting another war, they are sent off to secret facilities around the world under the guise of training to fight enemies of humanity, while in reality they are being sent there to be eliminated. There are plenty of anime which have taken a dark spin on a familiar genre, but I think Talentless Nana manages to perfectly toe the line between being a dark subversion and simply being a fun show. The series is not a mindless gore fest featuring superheroes. Instead, Talentless Nana focuses on examining how Nana goes about killing the talented. Many of the talented don't reveal their powers, requiring Nana to get close to them, learn what their powers are, how they work, as well as what their weaknesses are, and to figure out a way that someone like her, with no powers to speak of, can manipulate events and people to bring about the deaths of her classmates despite such difficult odds. This exercise of using logical reasoning to overcome unspeakable odds is part of where the enjoyment of Talentless Nana comes from for me. The other is the psychological battle between Nana and Kyouya, the boy who transferred to the school at the same time as Nana. Kyouya almost immediately immediately suspects that Nana is behind the deaths of their classmates, her being constantly around them prior to their deaths cementing her as a prime suspect in his eyes, yet Kyouya has no real evidence. This dynamic puts the pair in a psychological battle that lies at the heart of the series, with Nana trying to figure out how to eliminate Kyouya and to prevent him from being able to prove her guilt to his fellow classmates, while Kyouya attempts to monitor Nana in order to prove that she is behind the deaths and disappearances. It also helps that Kyouya, who acts as the show's deuteragonist, is a lot of fun to watch. He very quickly establishes that Nana is at the center of the disappearances and deaths of his classmates. However, he seems to thoroughly enjoy spending time with Nana, not just because getting close to Nana will help him fulfill his objective of discovering the truth, but because he genuinely enjoys making friends, a kind of relationship he had never experienced before. It's interesting to see Kyouya going from being so steadfast and focused on his detective work, and doing so very competently as well, to then see him trying unsuccessfully to make friendly small talk with his fellow classmates. It can be unclear as to what Kyouya genuinely thinks, and what he's saying simply in an attempt to trick Nana into providing the evidence necessary to convince his fellow classmates that she is a serial killer. The art in Talentless Nana is fine. It doesn't particularly stand out, but the art and character design is consistent and legible throughout. Overall, I found the art to be perfectly generic. The animation itself is also standard, though it should be pointed out that there isn't very much in the way of movement in the story. Much of the story is told through conversation and the inner monologues of Nana and Kyouya. However, I didn't feel that this story structure adversely affected the pacing. I found watching as Nana tries to rationalize how she, an ordinary human, can kill superpowered beings, as well as seeing how she and Kyouya try to manipulate one another, to be just as entertaining as the kind of content that may be found in a more action-focused series. Because the dialogue is so keen on finding inventive ways to solve problems, and in general very well written, it enables Talentless Nana to be a fast-paced series, despite the lack of action sequences. Talentless Nana is at its core Death Note with superhero flavorings mixed in to keep it fresh, and it works. The show's writing works well for two main reasons. The first being that it engages the audience with a unique conundrum, stimulating a desire to want to know how Nana will murder beings with magnitudes more power than she has. The second is that the writing causes the audience to ponder the moral ambiguity of Nana's actions. We are able to empathize with Nana in her belief that the talented are dangerous. After all, we are shown multiple times not only how destructive their powers can be, but how easily they can come to think of themselves as gods, as being above those around them. If a member of the talented were to have an emotional outburst in public, it could bring about death and destruction. Many of the talented possess powers that no person should have, because that kind of power can easily enable them to commit deplorable acts, whether intentionally or not. However, on the flip side, we can also recognize that just because these kids have the potential to commit horrific acts does not mean they will. It isn't fair to make assumptions about their character, how they will use their powers, just because they are teenagers who have this power. The show presents us with characters from both sides of this spectrum, showing us individuals who are mentally and emotionally unstable, and who use their powers for selfish and oftentimes violent acts that endanger those around them. However, this series also presents us with characters who try desperately to use their abilities for the good of those around them, putting the viewer in a morally complex situation where it can be difficult to choose who to root for. I could easily see arguments being made for the support of either Kyouya or Nana. Regardless of who I was rooting for, I was thoroughly entertained while watching Talentless Nana. As another testament to the show's great pacing, nearly every episode ends on a cliffhanger. Literally. Episodes end with new crucial information about the strengths or weaknesses of the talented, an unexpected twist, or any other number of surprises that caused me to want to watch the next episode immediately. In terms of characters, Kyouya and Nana are a blast to watch. They're ultimately very stoic, calm individuals that are both almost robotic in nature. However, much of their interplay allows for the more emotional, albeit subdued parts of their personalities to come through. Both characters have a duality to them. Nana is a serious, task-focused girl pretending to be a bubbly, talkative person that cares deeply about her classmates, while Kyouya is in many ways the opposite of Nana. He acts serious and appears to be focused only on his goals. However, there is also a side of him that wants to laugh, have fun, and hang out with kids his age. The line between truth and fiction becomes blurred for both characters as the series moves forward. The side characters in Talentless Nana, for the most part, exist for the purpose of being Nana's enemy. They usually aren't properly introduced until the show is ready for Nana to face off with them, and they tend to follow a predictable pattern. With the exception of only two of these side characters, they appear friendly or normal enough at first. However, it soon becomes clear that they are mentally or emotionally unstable in one form or another. Their dark natures characters being revealed by the end of their encounter with Nana. This develops into a bit of a pattern, leaving many of the side characters feeling very similar to each other by the end of the series. Overall, I feel that Talentless Nana is a well-written series with an interesting premise, engaging lead characters, with pacing that left me wanting more at the end of each episode. I'm going to give Talentless Nana an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe.